The fastest show in sports.
You had made a comment about Coco Gauff, and the comment was made as well that she's the first American to win the French Open since Serena Williams in 2015. Big deal. And people are ballyhooing this as a major moment in sports. No, it's not. It's a major moment in tennis. Not only that, but if Americans were so good at what they do, if Americans were so good at what they do, they'd learn to play that red clay in Paris a whole lot better, because every time it comes around and an American wins, they go, oh, they won on red clay. Other people around the world are winning on red clay all the time. Why don't the Americans train better for it?
Because we play on hard courts, damn it. We play on hard courts.
I do think that people do get overexcited only because an American won. And let's be honest, a black American won at a time when everything else is anti-DEI now.
Look, at not only that,
we tried to get people of color. We tried to get people of color on our show, and you told them, Ed, no, I live in Florida. Ron DeSantis says no. I'm kidding. But really, the thing about it is...
You better say that out loud, man, because people are going to snip this up, and then it's going to be all over the place. I'm going to have to put up with that bullshit.
We are all race-conscious, thoughtful, woke human beings who are allies, unless someone tries to take our job, damn it, no. But here's the deal, really quick. I would say that it was a big deal because of an American woman, because let's be honest, unless it's somebody that really connects, Steffi Graf, Maria Sharapova, unless it's somebody who connects, you need an American for a sport to really bloom in ratings and everything else. And so when Coco Gauff does this, it doesn't become like a sport of ovas. Every Ova or Sabalenka that wins, at some point, if you're an Eastern European, it's great, but not everybody's tuning in for that tennis.
Yeah, but maybe they're the better tennis players in the world here. Look, everybody looks at Americans have got to dominate every single sport, and you've got to say it out loud. Sure, Coco Gauff winning the French Open is a big deal, but that's because women's American tennis has not been very good for a while. Come on. Since Serena
it hasn't been good since Serena retired.
Since Serena and Venus left the court, there's been nobody there to sit there. I mean, everybody has been talking about Coco, that she's the next great thing, and she now is the next great thing by winning the French Open. But let's be honest, Americans are not as dominant in tennis as the era that we grew up in, where we had the Steffi Grafs, where you had the Serena Williams, where you can go back as far to
Andre Agassi, Jimmy Connors.
American. Yeah, where are the American men in tennis?
Chrissy Evert. Chrissy Evert. Well, then we had an era of like Jennifer Capriati for a while. We had an era of who was the other one that was Lindsay Davenport. There was some very good. There's some people that had great careers that won majors, but another. Not now. No, you're right.
Not now. We kind of got spoiled, and I'm afraid not kind of. We got spoiled because Serena became an event. She became must-watch television, no matter who you were and where you were and what gender you were. You actually went, I'm going to put Serena on because this woman, A, is kicking ass. B, she's coming to her end. And I think especially my generation, I'm 48, you guys are a little older than me. My generation of sports fans, how long can this how long can this woman do this? This is like watching any superstar athlete at their prime on their retirement tour. How long can you do this? That's why we all fell in love with Serena the last year. And then we wanted the next. This society, we then immediately have to take someone to replace that superstar. We don't let that happen organically. We lift someone to an unrealistic expectation far too soon.
Correct. And again, that's possibly what has happened with Coco, because there have been a lot of people for the last couple of years have been touting her as the next great thing. I hope she is the next great thing. If she is, that's wonderful. But let's face it, Serena was not the best female American tennis player. She was the best American tennis player. End of story. For a decade or more, the American men have been completely useless when it comes down to major international championships. They show up every now and then, but the American male capacity in tennis has been diminished. Serena was the best. And now you're right, Kevin. We all got to have a best. We got to have a best American has got to be in there. Okay, maybe it is Coco, but to say that her win at the French Open was as spectacular as I see some people making it out to be, it is if you're a tennis fan. But to the rest of the sporting community, okay, nice, Coco, come by and see.
I mean, Carlos Alcaraz coming back from 2 sets down against Yannick Sinner was amazing. That was a great, but Coco's 21. She seems like a breath of fresh air. The fact that she's boy, she was so gracious in victory, and Sabalenka had that whole I did not lose. I lost myself. You did not beat me. Like she was just so negative, and she just had it was a lousy way to, everybody beats themselves in some regard.
But that just goes to show the arrogance of tennis players. Tennis players are some of the most arrogant athletes I've ever met in my life. They are self-absorbed. They are totally into themselves. They are, in many cases, they come from very privileged backgrounds. In many cases, not every, I want everybody to hear that, but tennis players act very differently. I go back to the era when I sat down one time at the U.S. Open with Arthur Ashe, and we sat there and just talked for 30 minutes. There was no interview. He was real. He was honest. We talked about so many things that weren't tennis. He was a man of the world.
Wait a minute.
It was great. You
interviewed Arthur Ashe. That is awesome. That's the most awesome thing you've told me.
That's what I'm saying. It wasn't an interview. It wasn't an interview. It was a happenstance.
You just spoke to him.
To just be there, and there were a few other people around. I came and I was introduced to Arthur, and we sat there and just talked for like about a half hour. And he was so self-effacing. He wasn't Arthur Ashe the star. He was Arthur Ashe the human being. A lot of tennis players these days, they're not the human being. They're I'm the tennis player. I make millions of dollars. I travel around the world. I'm more important than you are. That's just my opinion with tennis players. I don't really find them to be very warm people at all. They're very into themselves. And then again, the tennis experts will tell me that, well, that's how they have to be in order to play on an international stage. Bullshit.
Can I just say this? Can I say this? There used to be when I was a kid, first off, I was the kid who would also watch a soccer match from Bolivia just so I could either avoid going outside or avoid doing chores around the house. Like I would watch I would watch any sport, right? But I knew somewhere around the 4th of July is the final of Wimbledon, and maybe you got Martina or Chrissy together, or maybe you had McEnroe and Lendl or McEnroe and Borg. Borg was a little bit I was a little too young for that, but you got McEnroe, you had some of Jimmy Connors in the U.S. Open. I knew when these finals were. I had no idea that the French Open was even going on until all of a sudden Kevin Harlan one night during the conference finals says Brian Anderson is covering is leading our coverage over in Roland Garros on TNT, and I went, okay, well now I got 2 weeks. So I sit there Saturday morning and I see Coco do her thing, and it's great. I put it on. Sunday morning, I'm getting ready for my nephew's graduation, and I watched the first 2 sets. And Yannick Sinner is he's got him. He's got Carlos, and he's going to beat him. I'm at the middle of graduation, which is just boring as all can be, as all graduations are. And I open my ESPN app, and it says Carlos. Go ahead.
But you're a sports nerd to begin with. I was going to ask you without your sports.
I was just going to add, why would you be bored by a graduate? I believe your nephew was the first to ever graduate high school from your family, which I think is incredible.
That's all, folks.